Today we will test your willingness to indulge in UFOs and extraterrestrials. We will also test your belief in God. Some of what you hear will startle you. Many of you will be angry by the religious revelations that will be revealed to you, and many of you will be thrilled by the latest information on UFOs.
All of this, perhaps even more, on Mid-Morning Los Angeles. We introduce you, first of all, to a man who calls himself Rael. He has a French name difficult to pronounce, by which he no longer goes, so we won't bother you with it. Rael is a French journalist, former sports reporter, and author of a book entitled Space Aliens Took Me to Their Planet. In his book, he tells us he was taken aboard a spacecraft in December of 1973, journeyed to another planet where he met, among others, Moses and Jesus, and was given a message for planet Earth. He has been publicizing his story around the world. He says that extraterrestrials he met gave him his name, and he has formed a group, a movement, which he describes as, quote, an atheist religion with regular cult practices. We will talk with him in a moment, and we welcome you, sir.
Today, space, its inhabitants, and unidentified flying objects. We were talking to a former sports reporter, and so am I. So that means that I have possibilities of getting to where you are today. And we were talking about your personal experience being captured by extraterrestrials, being taken to their country, having them give you a message, and now your position as the self-proclaimed ambassador to the earth of extraterrestrials. A lot of people will say, we are really off our corks by saying this and by presenting this. However, you are very serious. You claim to have a following of 20,000 people around the world. Please state your case.
Yes, December 13, 1973, I was journalist in the center of France, the city Clermont-Ferrand, and the morning, it was 9 o'clock, I went to my office, but suddenly I turned left with my car and I went to a volcano. The name is Puy de la Sola, 10 kilometers from the city. I had nothing to do in this place, and I was very surprised because I did not know why I was there. And suddenly I saw in the sky a flashing light, very strong flashing light, and something like a flat bell appears, maybe 7 meters diameter. That was slowly, very slowly going down. It stops maybe 30 meters from me. It looks like something made of silver metal. And slowly, very slowly, something like a trap with a stair was opened under the engine. And I was very happy at the beginning, but I became a little bit afraid at this time because I didn't know what will appear. And I saw a little man going out, maybe 1 meter 40 centimeters. I don't know in feet, but 1 meter 40 centimeters. He came to me, and he stops maybe 2 meters from me. He had very large eyes. The skin was not green, but a little bit like Asian people, and black hair, very straight, and a beautiful suit, green suit, but not the skin. And at this time,
in what tongue did he speak to you in?
At this time, nothing, and I asked a question to know if he can understand me or not, and he gave me an answer in French, but they can speak every language in the world, because they have 25,000 years of scientific advance on us. So we are very primitive for them, but you know, in the universe you have an infinite level, difference of level of technology.
Did he tell you why you?
Yes. And very important, he asked me to follow him in the UFO, and he started to explain this fantastic story. They came on the Earth a very long time ago, and they create life in laboratory through DNA and genetic combination. And the Bible, you know, in the Bible it's not written the first day God did that, the second day God. No God. In the Hebrew Bible it's written Elohim. And Elohim in Hebrew means those who came from the sky.
But this was a physical experience that you're turning into a religious experience. Why the religious association?
No religious. The meaning is no religious because...
But if we say God, we're talking religion.
No, because they explain there is no God. But in the Bible it's written Elohim. And Elohim was wrongly translated by God. But in Hebrew, Elohim is plural. and it means those who came from the sky. So the Bible is the more old atheist book.
But you're saying to me that this unidentified flying object or this extraterrestrial is an atheist.
Of course.
And what you are preaching is atheism.
Of course.
Why?
Because they came on the earth, they create life in laboratory thanks to DNA and genetic combination. But for primitive people, you know, when they see something coming from the sky, they think, oh, it's God. Like the cargo cult in the Pacific Ocean, you know, when we have a very high level of technology, and when you arrive among primitive people, they think you are a God. They cannot imagine why a man like us can come from the sky. Now we can understand. And they send a lot of messengers through different epochs. This messenger were Moses. You know, Moses was speaking with them on the Mount Sinai. Jesus was the son of one of them. But for primitive people, he was a god because he was able to fly in the sky.
We'll come back to Rael. I was asking Rael why it is that these beings he says he saw created us only 25,000 years ago when we have fossils that are presumably millions of years old. Your answer was?
Only they didn't create Earth, so you had an infinitely number of life and destruction and life and destruction. If tomorrow we are so stupid and we have a world atomic war,
yes.
In 20,000 years after or 30,000 years after, we will have new life created by people coming from the space, and they will find trace of us. And they can imagine we are ancestor of them, but we are not, of course.
Do they say why they're unwilling to let themselves be seen to the rest of us?
They ask me to, that's my mission, to build an embassy where they will come safely.
But they're asking you to build it with a lot of money that would come from donations from us.
Exactly.
I find it difficult to understand how people or beings with that power would have a pledge drive.
Do we have the hope? Do we want to welcome them or not? That's the question. If we don't want to welcome them, they will not come officially. Do we want to welcome them? So we will build only one embassy, not a cathedral in every city, not a church in every city.
And in Jerusalem is where they wish it.
Near Jerusalem, if possible.
All right, well, you want to raise $20 million. You have held various conferences and sessions around the world. A lot of people have come back to you and said, sir, you're crazy. We don't believe you. We believe that you are planting seeds of evil. How do you substantiate this? Why would I come to you and believe you and give you a donation for a particular house to wait for the coming of these particular extraterrestrials?
Among the 20,000 members we have, nobody believed me. Everybody understand. It's important to read the book, to read the message, and to understand.
So faith rather than faith is what you're...
Only understanding. Because this message is 100% materialistic and 100% scientific.
Did you find in your direct confrontation with them, Rael, that they meant for peace and in fact to bring peace to our planet eventually?
Of course, it's a message of love and peace. And what says the doctor is very important. They cannot come in America because what will think the Chinese people, the Russian people, they cannot come in Russia because what will think the American. You know, they will not give a political advantage to one country.
So because
it's
of
the
our
reason
war.
why they ask me to build an embassy with extraterritoriality. We don't belong to one country, extraterritoriality. Maybe near Jerusalem, but not in Israel, with extraterritoriality, like the Russian embassy in Washington, like the American embassy in Moscow. It's very important to have a safe place with no political place, you know, extraterritoriality.
Yes.
I just arrived from Japan. And you know, there was a pilot of Japan Airlines who saw something just before I went to Japan, but that is maybe coincidence. But I travel around the world every time, and I met a lot of pilots. They say, I cannot speak because maybe I will lose my job. But this pilot from Japan Airlines, he was courageous and he spoke. That's fantastic.
But we're talking about a hands-on world. So tell us, when is it going to happen? When will a significant number of us see it and witness it so we can know, hey, they exist?
Of course, and that's the reason why we must prepare a safe place to welcome them.
How soon?
That will be before 2020.
We've got our camera crews waiting.
Yeah, I just said...